All right, in this video, I want to talk to pastors and preachers about disciple making. I don't know if you've ever done this. I've fallen prey to sort of chewing out people in my church and saying, you guys need to get more serious. You guys need to go make disciples. Now, maybe you're not that bad. I wasn't that bad, but I would get frustrated when people weren't out making disciples. I know that's the job of every Christian. I know that's what we're supposed to be doing. And so when you look out and you look at people in your church or in your small group and they're not doing it, then it's easy to start pointing fingers and saying the reason is because of this, that, and the other thing. But there's a real reason that people aren't doing it. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. You're probably thinking, well, maybe it's because nobody is really serious about their faith. Christians who don't really love Jesus, maybe it's because they're living in sin in their life, or maybe it's because they're just lazy and selfish and blah, 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 blah. But listen, I don't buy that. It's not that I don't know some Christians that are like that. I do, for sure. I don't want to let you guys off the hook. But I know a lot of Christians who really genuinely love Jesus. I know a lot of people who just really want to make disciples. They want to share their faith with people, but they just don't do it. They don't know how to do it. So I'm not buying that it's because every Christian is just not that serious. Or maybe you're thinking, well, it's because nobody really knows the authentic gospel anymore. That we've watered it down. We all know the safe version. No one's willing to go over to their neighbor's door and knock on the door and tell them that they're going to hell. There's a God of wrath. If we would just tell people about the God of wrath, then, people would fall on their knees and repent and come to Jesus. I'm not saying that we don't sometimes water it down, but I don't think that that's the real problem at all. In fact, in my own experience, it's the people who are willing to go over and sort of shove the gospel down their neighbor's throat. Those are the ones that are the least effective at making disciples. So I don't think that's the real reason either. Here's what I think the real reason is. The real problem is that the average Christian is not equipped. Go back and read for yourself Ephesians chapter 4. Paul says there that here's the job of pastors and preachers. We're not supposed to be just telling people to go make disciples. We're supposed to be equipping people to go make disciples. So when I realized this in my own ministry, I looked around and I said, wait, maybe I'm the problem. I keep talking about making disciples, but finally when I asked somebody, hey, what do you hear when I say go make disciples? And they thought about it and they said, what I hear is I need to go share the gospel with somebody. And that's when it dawned on me. I'm not equipping him because that's not actually what disciple making is. It's not just sharing the gospel. Now, sharing the gospel is a part of it. But if everyone in your church or ministry thinks that becoming a disciple maker means you've got to find a way to share the gospel with somebody as quickly as possible, then nobody's going to be making disciples because that's just not how it works. Disciple making takes relational sensitivity. It takes knowing how to share the right truth at the right time. It takes making a personal commitment to walking with them so that you can be relationally sensitive to when they're ready to hear the gospel. Because if you just share this spiritual topic with them and they are not at all ready to hear a spiritual topic, then they're going to shut themselves off to the gospel no matter how good you are at sharing that spiritual topic. Maybe they just need truth on another topic. That's how we define mentoring. That's how we define disciple making. It's just sharing truth in love. Paul talks about that in Ephesians 4:15. He says, when every person, regular people, learn how to share the truth in love, then everyone will be making disciples and the church will grow. And so pastors, listen, leaders, small group leaders, your job is to equip your people to share the truth in love. Your job is not to equip them to go out and share the gospel as quickly as they possibly can. Your job is to make them mentors, to make them people who will embed themselves in the lives of people in their world and lovingly walk with those people until they're ready to receive the gospel. And then they can share the gospel. And that's just part of disciple making because there's more to it after that anyway, right? So anyway, this is what I think the real problem is. Now, I encourage you to talk about this. I'll have questions below this video so you can talk about this, maybe with your ministry team. But I especially encourage you to check out some of our resources where we actually equip people to share the truth on any topic, to share a biblical worldview. And eventually, you'll be able to share the gospel and make a disciple.